Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in their hearts, friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May. My song is the story of deer on the hills, of larks that soar seeking the sun, of nightingales lifting the curtain of night, as with music they bring down heaven's blessing of light. Oh, my song is the story of God's blessing of light. Come join me in singing of that emerald isle, of flowers that like jewels besprinkle the lea, of waterfalls eager to embrace the white sea, as we with our Maker united would be, as we with our Maker reunited would be. Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in their hearts, friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May.
Although Swami Kriyananda said of Emerald Isle that the song isn't so-called deep, he also said to think of heaven when you listen to these words. And really, if you think of heaven, which is really to maybe concentrate here at the spiritual eye, there's plenty of meaning and inspiration that comes from that on its own. In fact, I think that Emerald Isle is really quite an amazing song, one that invokes a deep feeling of expansive love in the heart. And it's really like the perception that you have when you're, say, deeply in love, that everything seems beautiful, everything seems divine. And in this sense, what I think Kriyananda really means by his statement that the song isn't deep is that the lyrics themselves aren't intellectually deep. They're just simple poetic statements, really. But yet the feeling of the song and really its consciousness certainly is very deep and very powerful. In his book, I've Passed My Life as a Stranger, in fact, Kriyananda writes these words which attest to having some deeper meaning in the song. He says, I endeavored through this song to express the inspiration of earthly beauty with the thought of it, or when the thought of it is held up to divine inspiration. This was an attitude that my Guru, Yogananda, encouraged in us in our relationship to the world. He taught us to see everything in God and not to reject it as alien to absolute truth. Now, Emerald Isle is the final track on the Mystic Harp album and the only song on the otherwise instrumental album that is sung. And as the Mystic Harp was expressed to, or written to express the spirit of Ireland, Emerald Isle is clearly a reference to Ireland itself, with, images like the shamrock coming to mind, and definitely thoughts of green, which is, we think of Irish, we think of green. And green itself is a very soothing and calming color. And here in California at Ananda Village, when we're always aware of wildfires during the dry season, green as a color is easily associated with calmness and security, because when everything is green around us, the fire threat is in fact minimal. And so yes, we feel that kind of safety with the green and that security. Now, as it's played on the Mystic Harp, the arrangement there starts with one verse, as we heard, playing instrumentally just on the solo harp. And that solo harp by itself, there's no other instrumentation at the time, is very simple, and it resonates primarily with the throat chakra here, giving one a sense of peacefulness and calmness, which are attributes of the throat chakra, which also befits the idea of an emerald isle, a green, soothing environment. And it's qualities like this that counter emotions like agitation and anxiety, which this song does very well. The first instrumental verse on this arrangement is then followed by another verse that uses a second melody of the song, when slow strings also join into the harp, serving to open the heart chakra itself so that its energies can now flow instead of outwardly in, say, attachment to outward beauty of of an emerald isle or some kind of natural environment like that. It allows the heart's energy to flow upwards, feeding the expansiveness of the throat chakra to then help one see that beauty and love and light everywhere in both the outer and the inner worlds alike, but to even take that outer beauty and use it as a reference point inwardly, as Kriyananda had written there about having that positive relationship with the world rather than an attachment to the outer forms of the world. And it's in this kind of positive and expansive embracing of both the inner and the outer world that can help to counter the negative emotion of cynicism. This instrumental section, so we've had two verses of instrumental recordings on this piece. It ends with a few rising notes on the harp, as if to really draw attention here to the spiritual eye, not necessarily to bring all the energy there from the heart and the throat as a focus, but more like we're listening at that point. We've opened our heart, we've opened the throat chakra, we're feeding that energy to an expansiveness, and now we're putting our attention here to listen as we want to do. And this is when the singing of the song begins, which to me is really the voice of the higher self that comes and invites the lower self, or more specifically the ego at the medulla oblongata, to then open itself and allow that heart's energy and the energy of the throat chakra to flow upwards toward divine communion, because that's the point we're trying to get to. So really that voice is saying something like, come here and listen, my dear ones, addressing, again, the ego and all the mental citizens elsewhere in the spine. It says, come here and listen, and let me tell you of a far green country and emerald hills of peace and calmness. Let me tell you of valleys and meadows of peace and beauty, those valleys and meadows so fair, that if you touch them within yourself, that is, if you've seen them, as the lyrics say, if you absorb those into your being, absorb those qualities into your being to carry them away, then you'll forever be transformed by the memories in the heart, with the realization of divine sweetness at the heart of your being, like the sweet fragrance of the lilacs of May in a time when they're blooming. The higher self here, in other words, and especially in that first verse of invitation, is offering a promise to really say that if you concentrate on these qualities of peace and calmness and beauty and so forth, which is really to say to practice meditation on the aspects of God, like peace and calmness and love, then you will most certainly draw those qualities into yourself, find that inner transformation, and then through that, share them with others just as a lilac shares its own fragrance. I think that's the real sweetness of the poetry here that helps then to counter the negative emotions that are the opposites of bitterness and resentment. Again, those are qualities where you're kind of pushing a lot of stuff away, like cynicism, and you're just kind of annoyed and upset with everything in the world, as opposed to being able to embrace it with love and openness. And it's that outpouring of love and sweetness also that means you really have nothing to worry about anymore. And this is then the idea expressed by Ananda in Day 17 of Secrets of Emotional Healing, to which he assigned to the song Emerald Isle. He writes, the secret of overcoming doubt is to concentrate on your reasons for gratitude to life and not to focus on all those things that seem to you imperfect. Love other people. Love truth. Love. Fill your heart with generous sentiments, and doubts will flee like shadows before the sunrise. Now in the second verse, the voice now begins, the second verse here is a little more energetic, and the first two measures of the verse use a few different notes than the first verse. So the first verse begins with, come here while I sing you. The second verse starts, my song is the story. You can hear the differences in those notes. And just that little bit of differences, those little bits of higher notes, encourages the energy in the medulla here to rise a little bit more. Now the verse begins, my song is the story, which suggests the story is not told so much in words as it is in vibration, which is to say in consciousness and in feeling. And to say, of deer on the hills, my story, my vibration is of deer on the hills. Now, if you've been around an environment like we have here at Ananda Village, where there are deer walking around all the time, you know that they're very quiet, and typically they move slowly and silently and very, very gently, even if they do like to munch on your garden plants if you forget to close your gate. But that's part of the story. Part of the vibration is of that calmness and that gentleness. And then we have, the story is also one of larks that soar seeking the sun, to refer to energies that rise to seek the sun of the spiritual eye here, the rising energies in the spine. And that's again inviting from the spiritual eye the energy of the heart and the throat chakras to join in with that of the medulla that we're freeing into a practice of meditation, essentially. And this vibration of peace, this song also sings of nightingales lifting the curtain of night. This phrase harkens to the song of the nightingale, which we've discussed in this series, that serves as an antidote for negativity. And this song of the nightingales lifting the curtains of night, the lifting the darknesses of negative moods, also works for that quality of negativity here in Emerald Isle. And the nightingales singing as with music, the songs of higher consciousness, that's what brings down heaven's blessing of light here from the spiritual eye, from the divine, into the rest of the spine, into the rest of our beings, to overcome that negativity, to overcome the carping spirit, and allow that higher consciousness from here as we experience in meditation, to bring everything, to bring that divine energy into all of our being, into everything we do, into the whole flow of life. So all this says that once you release that kind of negativity and the carping spirit, and release cynicism, as I said before, which is the idea that nothing is beautiful or worthwhile, and when you also release attachment to opinions about what the world should be like and just accept it as it is, that's when you start to see everything in a new light. As energy flows here to the spiritual eye, you see that everything has purpose, and you can relax into full acceptance of the divine plan. Oh, my song, or my vibration, my consciousness is the story of God's blessing of light and of lightness. And really that sense of energy coming from the spiritual eye brings that light and that blessing of lightness into everything we do and into all parts of our being. The third verse then now focuses that energy at the spiritual eye. Again, we started with the instrumental parts bringing, opening some of the heart and the throat chakras, bringing energy up and letting ourselves listen here at the spiritual eye. We've listened and felt that divine energy come and descend, and now we can bring it all back up to focus at the spiritual eye. And the voice in the verse here is that of the higher self, inviting all that energy in the spine upwards. Come join me in singing, it says, to all of the mental citizens. Come join me in singing of that emerald isle, that place of beauty and calmness and peace. And the high notes on that phrase, which are, come join me in singing of that emerald isle. See, those notes stay up a lot higher. That's the phrase that really focuses the energy here, saying, come and meditate on that divine calmness. Come and enjoy God's smiles of love and joy, as it speaks of in the flowers, that descend to bless the landscape, so to speak, of the entire spine. Flowers that like jewels besprinkle the lea. And then come and enjoy also, it says, the waterfalls, implying a rush of energy, which is like the sound of Om. I think that's the poetic rendition of that subtle meaning. That the waterfalls that are eager to embrace the wide sea, which is to say eager and flowing toward expansion with God, as we with our Maker, making the meaning of the song now explicit, we with our Maker united would be. And in fact, the song makes a small correction to that thought with the tag saying, because it remembers that we in fact came originally from God, and so it says, as we with our Maker reunited would be, to remind us that God has forever been with us, that we've forever been a part of God, and we need only to remember that divine truth. The divine voice now, we're focused here in meditation really in this song. It concludes now by singing the first verse over again, allowing us to meditate even more deeply on that inner peace and its transforming power. The harp too is played in soft strums to help still the mind. And it's in this arrangement too that the harp then repeats just instrumentally the come join me in singing verse, giving us again the opportunity to meditate on those words, but really more the consciousness behind them, because as an instrumental verse, we're no longer needing to ponder the lyrics so much as just feeling that consciousness. And then to close the song, the harp plays a series of slow, rising notes, ending with a kind of sparkles of sorts, as then the piece fades into silence, allowing us to meditate inwardly then as long as we like. I often say with music that fading out a piece of music is often done when a composer really doesn't know where to take the energy of a song, and maybe they've awakened energy in a particular chakra like the heart, which is very common, but they don't know how to uplift it in the music or with the lyrics, and so all they can do is let it fade and dissipate. But here, because we've brought the energy up to the spiritual eye and we want to go into inner silence, that fading is not only important, but it's also very effective to help us just continue into that state of inner stillness. And it's in that state of inner calmness, of beauty and love and sweetness that all the friends of the spine, all the friends of the chakras, of the mental citizens, have then turned away from negativity and cynicisms and As the song says, memories in the heart, friends. It really says that and invites every one of those mental citizens, every one of the chakras and all of their hearts to dwell forever in that peace and that beauty and calmness. And as it says, really again, Emerald Isle is inviting these friends to flow upwards, to turn away from negativity and cynicism, to relax into the truth of one's nature. And so it's amusing, going back to what I said at the beginning, that Kriyananda suggests that this song isn't deep because it is very deep and deepening. And it's also amusing that he suggests that to merely think of heaven while listening to this song, because what the song effectively does is take you into a state of heavenly consciousness. So let's listen to the song now again with that consciousness and allow it to fill your being and take you into a state of meditation.
Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in their hearts, friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May. My song is the story of deer on the hills, of larks that soar seeking the sun, of nightingales lifting the curtain of night, as with music they bring down heaven's blessing of light. Oh, my song is the story of God's blessing of light. Come join me in singing of that emerald isle, of flowers that like jewels besprinkle the lea, of waterfalls eager to embrace the white sea, as we with our Maker united would be, as we with our Maker reunited would be. Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in and their hearts friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May.